What's good, YouTubers and YouTubettes? This is JBsports back again with another one. Unified heavyweight champion Anthony Joshua, nicknamed AJ, will put his belts on the line versus mandatory WBO contender and #1 in the WBO and former undisputed cruiserweight champion AJ-Usyk. The fight's gonna go down September 25th at Tottenham Stadium in the UK. They was waiting for clearance from the UK government because they want a full capacity crowd in attendance for this mega fight. The stadium holds 60,000 and they're expecting a sellout crowd. They said this will be the largest crowd in attendance for a UK boxing event since Josh Taylor took on Regis Prograis in a unification fight in the junior welterweight division. Now, as far as the fight goes, you got people out here, applauding AJ again, giving him a standing ovation again. Oh man, AJ, give him a round of applause, man. This guy's fighting the top guys every time he steps into that square circle. Who resume is better than AJ? AJ this and AJ that. AJ is the man and AJ is the Mac. And that's a goddamn shame and a goddamn lie. I'm gonna tell all the UK fanboys, that's a nice try. Because he don't have the best resume in boxing because he ain't fought the two best guys in the heavyweight division. That's Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury. They going on their third fight and AJ ain't fought now one of them guys once. So his resume is not the best. It's not even close to being the best. So kill that noise, AJ fanboys and fangirls, and kill that noise, Eddie Hearn. Now, as far as the fight goes, AJ-Usyk has been less than impressive in his two fights at heavyweight. His debut versus Chaz Witherspoon was not a great performance. It wasn't. It wasn't a great performance. And Chaz Witherspoon, he way past his best days. You know, when I say a fighter past his best days, Chaz Witherspoon is past that. He's past his mediocre days, if he ever had any best days. You know what I'm saying? He beyond washed. He beyond, on the downside of his career. And he didn't even look that great in that fight. He was able to get the victory. I think he stopped Chaz Witherspoon in that fight, in the second half of that fight, but it was a less than stellar performance. Then I was like, okay, you're gonna fight Derek Chisora. Derek Chisora is a workman-like type of fighter. He always gonna give you a grade A effort. He's a guy that's very limited, but a guy that's got a will to win, a lot of desire. He got a good chin. Let's see what AJ-Usyk do in this fight. And what he did was he got on his bicycle and he basically did a Louis Armstrong. He was all up in the mountains on that bike, man. He was on his bicycle, boy. And he got the win, man, but it wasn't no great performance, man, I thought he kind of buzzed Derek Chisora a couple of times in that fight, man. When he was so busy on his bicycle, he didn't want to sit down on none of his punches. He didn't take advantage of it. So he probably won that fight like 8 rounds to 4, I think. I had that fight around 8 rounds to 4 for who's. He won the fight. All them people said that they thought Chisora won it. Tony Bellew, who was a mouthpiece for Matchroom Boxing, who was AJ #1 cheerleader. And he also cheerleaded for other UK fighters, Derek Chisora, people like that. Dillian White. And he thought Derek Chisora won the fight, which was crazy. I don't know what fight he was watching, but he didn't win that fight. Like I said, AJ-Usyk didn't look good in that fight, but he did enough to win the fight. But if that same guy shows up in the ring versus Anthony Joshua, he ain't gonna beat Anthony Joshua. He's gonna lose that fight. I don't know if Anthony Joshua stops AJ-Usyk because AJ is a guy that should have stopped Pulev in the first 5-6 rounds. He had Pulev out of there early in that fight. For some reason, he didn't want to take a chance. I don't know if it was because he didn't want to open up and get caught. That's one of the things that happened to him in that first Andy Ruiz fight. He hurt Andy Ruiz, dropped him. Then he tried to go in for the kill and he got clipped. So maybe that was playing in the back of his mind. That was the reason why he didn't put the foot on the gas and get Pulev out of there earlier. I think he ended up stopping Pulev in the 9th round, but he should have got Pulev out of there way before that. So with that mindset, maybe Usyk can hang in there for 12 rounds, but he's not gonna get no decision if he's doing all that running on the bicycle. So he got to sit down on his punches and give AJ respect. He's got to get back to that guy that fought in that cruiserweight tournament, what they call it, the Super Six. The guy that fought Gassial in that final. If that guy shows up, he's got a chance to beat AJ, because AJ is a good fighter. But he's not the same fighter he was before the Vladimir Klitschko fight. But I have seen him improve since the Andy Ruiz fight. I like what I've seen in the Pulev fight. He got back to close to what he was before the Vladimir Klitschko fight, but he didn't get tested on that chin, because Pulev was a one-trick pony. He had the right hand. Even the right hand he had ain't no great right hand. It's just a solid right hand. He ain't got no right hand like Deontay Wilder. So he didn't bring too much resistance. So I won't see AJ in there with a guy like a Usyk. Usyk can land some shots like he landed on Tony Bellew, and get AJ attention, and see if AJ will go back to that dark place that he went to in New York in that first Andy Ruiz fight, when he waved that white flag and he quit. If Usyk can get him back to that dark place, he got a chance to become unified heavyweight champion. That's what makes this matchup an intriguing matchup. But if Usyk don't show up like he did in that cruiserweight tournament, and shows up like he did in the last 2 heavyweight fights, a guy that don't have no pop on his punch, a guy that's not as elusive as he was at cruiserweight, a guy that seems like his skills have regressed, I don't know, due to age or due to moving up to the heavyweight division and fighting bigger guys, and probably fighting, even though AJ-Usyk is a journeyman type of heavyweight, he's probably still a top 15 heavyweight, which, you know, in the grand scheme of things, might have been one of the best fighters on Alexander Usyk's resume outside of Tony Bellew. So with that being said, we're going to get a lot of questions answered September 25th. And then we'll see how the fight plays out. I'm glad this fight is happening September 25th. That'll be 2 weeks before we get Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder 3. Everybody assuming that the winners will meet up in the first quarter of 2022. I got to put a stop sign up. I got to tell everybody to hit your brakes, because if Anthony Joshua loses this fight, you're not going to get undisputed in the first quarter of 2022. You're going to get a rematch between Anthony Joshua and Alexander Usyk. That's one of the reasons why these negotiations was dragging on, because I think Team Usyk wasn't keen on signing this fight with a rematch clause. But they looked at the monetary gain of this fight. They look at this as a legacy fight for Alexander Usyk, and they went on and bowed down to the demands of a rematch in the contract. So if AJ wins, then we're gonna get, in all likelihood, undisputed in the first quarter of 2022. But if Usyk wins, then undisputed is gonna get pushed back to summer of 2022 at the earliest. So we will see what happens. We will see what transpires. But Anthony Joshua's got to use his jab, use his physical advantage, use his weight, and keep Alexander Usyk on the end of his jab. Alexander Usyk's got to use feints to get AJ to react to his feints, and then throw combinations, two and three punch combinations. He got the jab to the body. He's got to look to land the right hand. He's got to look to land the check left hook. He's got to look to basically overwhelm AJ with his volume of punches per round. Make this fight a real fast-paced, breakneck pace. And that don't take much of a pace in the heavyweight division, because the heavyweight division is not a division that's really a fast-paced per round division. So if he can get it just, going like a middleweight fight, that'll play to his hands, that being Alexander Usyk. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. But I like Anthony Joshua by unanimous decision to win this fight. I just think the size difference and the small advantage of athleticism that AJ has. Because AJ is robotic, but he does have the athletic advantage in this particular matchup. I think that'll all play to his favor, and I think he wins a unanimous decision. Because I'm thinking that Alexander Usyk that shows up September 25th will be similar to the Alexander Usyk that showed up in the Derek Chisora fight and the Chaz Witherspoon fight. And if that's the case, he loses a unanimous decision to Anthony Joshua and doesn't become a unified champion at the heavyweight division and make history by becoming the first Ukraine fighter to be undisputed at cruiserweight and then become unified heavyweight champion. And then that'll make him one step closer to becoming undisputed at heavyweight. And for him, that would be a history in the making too. He'll be one step closer, even though he probably have to give AJ the rematch in the immediate next fight. If he can get that rematch win, then he could take on the Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder 3 winner. And then he'll have a chance to become undisputed, not only at cruiserweight, but undisputed at heavyweight. That would be history in the making for a Ukraine fighter. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires Hit the like button if you like the content of this video, and subscribe to JB Sports, the man, the myth, the legend, and I holla.